be honest, I was just so frustrated with the whole dating scene. And, I worked so many hours over at the convalescent hospital that I just don't have the kind of time and energy to go out and find a woman. So my coworker's like, hey, why don't you go on that Russian Federation online website? So I went, and then I found Svetlana's profile. And, it was like a Julia Roberts movie. And she rolled the dice and she came on out to the US of A, and it was magical. She didn't look anything like her profile picture, but that's just because she was just so stunning in person.
You're too kind to Svetlana.
We just spent the whole night laughing, and we just did that Betty Boop puzzle that my mom gave me for Easter. And
Boop, boop, be doop.
And we just laugh, and we finish each other's sentences. And
Blondes have more fun.
If you're lonely, go to this website, because you're going to find true love. You'll never be sad again.
Russian Federation of InternetHappy.com. American man find hot wife like Svetlana.
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer.
My motto is simple: C's get degrees.
Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you, because I probably am.
Howard Collins for box score.
Hello and welcome to the Box Score. I'm Brock in Los Angeles, joined by the Danets in Milford, Connecticut. Guys, college football is obviously here because we're once again talking about student athletes getting paid. And that's all thanks to Virginia Tech's rejected idea to actually fine their players. Now, Pearl, is the student athlete cost of attendance more of an allowance or compensation?
I'm not sure I get the distinction.
Yeah.
Allowance, though, makes it sound like these are little kids who are like getting a little handout. I think it's much closer to compensation, and frankly, probably not enough compensation.
But it is semantics. You could semantics almost anything. Like, is it a student loan? It's not a loan. But it's part of student aid.
Does it cost a life?
But it's not available to other students who don't play sports. So it's funny that we spend as much of the show talking about whether they are getting paid or not. They're getting money.
Right.
But are they getting paid?
Is it pay or aid?
Right. Yeah.
And which is a world of difference between the two.
An employee highway.
Yeah. It was great. Good topic.
Yeah. Great.
Well, college football writer Bruce Feldman joined the show today and talked about whether or not this falls in the pay-to-play category.
I think it is, yeah. I mean, look, ESPN's paying billions of dollars for the bowl contract, for not only bowls but also for the playoff. And there's, yes, players get tuition and get some breaks, even into right down to getting admitted into school that maybe regular students don't get. But, I've talked to a lot of players over the past few years who talk about that the time they spend on college football in season goes up to as much as 70 hours a week. Yeah, I do think they're employees, and it puts the NCAA model in a really, kind of a really challenged position.
Yeah, I always thought it was odd. Even when I was in college, we did stories at our school paper about should the football players be paid. Well, people are like, well, the Southern Illinois, I went to Southern Illinois, the football team there doesn't make any money. I'm like, well, I worked at the school paper, which is also a loss, the school paper, but they paid us minimum wage, and I worked 40 hours a week, so I actually made some good dough at the school paper. So I always wondered, why could I, from my profession, I want to be a journalist.
Right.
Most of them probably want to be football players and students. Why can't they get paid for it? So I always thought it was weird. But the other thing extreme with this I don't like is that the colleges always cry like, oh, we can't pay players enough money. There's always enough money for a little money. But I also don't like the college kids, the football players say like, man, I was going hungry. No, you weren't. That's just a flat out lie. I don't believe for a second there's a college football player at a major college who can't find a meal legally or illegally. But I saw the Alabama dorm when I was at, one of my friends was a walk-on at Alabama. They ate like kings. I would have killed, and this was a walk-on. So it's one of those, I don't like the extremes of the story.
These players are hanging out with the wrong boosters for sure. You guys are in the media big leagues. Now, Seton, look back to your esteemed college career. Would you have worked 40-plus hours a week just to get exposure on a radio show if you weren't getting paid?
I eventually did work 40-plus hours a week for free to get on the radio. It just wasn't while I was in college. So I think really it took me a little longer to get around to that idea and that conclusion of like, oh, hey, I really have to. And maybe it came because I didn't finish college, you know, that I was like, I really got to bust my ass here to try and make something of myself. And if this is the career I want to go into, I easily did 40 hours a week for free and then did another 40 plus paid, which was my real job, to pay my rent and everything. So, I went bonkers to do it. Yeah.
When I started at the school paper, I remember my first day there. I was really excited. I was like my second semester of my freshman year, and they told me I had to fill out like a W-2 or some form. Like, oh yeah, you get paid. I'm like, you get paid to work at this campus paper? I had no idea. I thought it was just completely voluntary because you want to develop your craft. I made, I think, $4.35 an hour, which was minimum wage back then, and I worked 30 hours a week minimum.
If you don't have any big expenses, that
was $100 a week. I remember getting those checks. I'm like, what am I going to do with all this money?
$100 a week.
$100 a week in college was enough for me easily for a month.
Once you bought your books and everything, and you're in whatever your meal plan is and all that stuff.
Oh, but Fritzy, you didn't go out in college.
Yeah,
you didn't go to any bars ever.
But I'm saying that at that age, that unless you don't have major expenses, unless you're spending a lot of money on drinking and partying, all like that, you could put away a decent amount of money.
No, I wouldn't say I saved a lot, but it helped because every once in a while, I'm going to go buy a new Izod shirt or something like that, and I could actually buy a $30 shirt or go out for a meal with a girl.
People go to a football game. That's not covered in your meal plan or your college tuition. Right. You want to go and have a good time or whatever. It's going to cost you a couple bucks. You get $20.
I didn't have any dates, but if I had a date, I would have taken her to a nice restaurant.
Jeez, what a life you led. Hey, McLovin, how much of a hit does Virginia Tech take in recruiting for releasing this story?
I'm not sure. Since they're not actually pulling the money, I don't think that they're going to take a hit. And, I've been saying all along, I think there's a little black market going on where players are getting paid on top of whatever stipend. I don't think it's a stretch to say in the major conferences that most of the really good players have received improper benefits. So to me, I think this is it's a big issue, no doubt. I'm not taking it lightly, but there's other stuff going on, too, on the side.
And it's not like, I get the impression, not being an insider here, that Virginia Tech isn't really recruiting from the same base that, say, Alabama is, right?
They're trying.
And they're trying, but the kids that are going to Virginia Tech either have a specific reason that they're going there, or they're sort of another tier of
wow, that's interesting, because Virginia Tech used to be better than Alabama.
They had a run.
5 years. They're Beamers.
About a decade ago, remember there was a kid named Kevin Jones. He was the #1 running back in the country. He's from Pittsburgh-ish area.
Yeah.
And he picked Virginia Tech. Right. And it was almost like they had arrived. Even though they were good, Michael Vick was not a household name when he went and picked Virginia Tech. But I remember this kid, Kevin Jones. He went there, became a nice player, had a cup of coffee with the Lions, but he was the #1 recruit in the country. And I remember Hackenberg, the guy at Penn State, they said he was between Penn State and Virginia Tech. And it's those kind of things that kind of brand your school if you get one of those recruits.
Huge. Interesting. I think Virginia Tech actually lost to Kansas in the Orange Bowl. I'm probably wrong. All right, hopefully the boss doesn't start finding us or we're all screwed. All right, stick around. Russell Wilson is an interesting dude, and we're breaking it down next. You want interesting? Hey, it's the Ram 1500 Eco Diesel. Every truck can climb a hill, haul a trailer, and tow a boat, but not everybody has the most fuel-efficient half-ton truck on the road. Get more facts at ramtrucks.com. Guts, glory, Ram. Welcome back to the Box Score. Today, Dan had on Rolling Stone's Stephen Roderick talk about his cover story about Russell Wilson and the quarterback's polarizing religious worldview.
One of the things Russell said was, within 6 steps of throwing that interception, God had told him it was part of his plan, and now I want people to see how you react to this. And that's either A, very nice, or B, a wonderful cop-out to have, and a kind of a cop-out that a lot of us would like to have in life, that if something doesn't work out, well, God told me it wasn't meant to work out. So,
but do you think it was a cop-out?
I think it's part of his worldview. I think for him to move forward, it's part of his worldview. I can't get inside his head and, tell you whether God spoke to him or not.
Surprised that this interview didn't cause more of a reaction or get more of a reaction, given the subject matter there, especially statements like that.
Religion.
And really the whole thing was sort of I thought like sort of religious based, even when it wasn't. When he says, if he believes the sky is green, he's going to tell you the sky is green and have reasons for why, And I thought really all of that came back to religion.
Very interesting.
But you didn't hear a lot of usually stuff like that. Maybe it was just said in a tone that wasn't quite as in your face, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to figure out. But
And if he genuinely believes that, that's good for him. But if you have some kind of, try selling that to a crazy Seahawk fan, whether you love Russell Wilson or not, it's like so the reason we lost the Super Bowl just by that one play is because there was some grand scheme when the Lord decided it wasn't your day and we're giving it to the Patriots. That does look like kind of a very convenient, easy way out. Not that
But you don't think he would
Wilson's
say
fault.
that unless he meant it, do you?
No, I think he genuinely believes that and has these strong religious convictions, and that's why he was meant to be Ciara with Ciara. And according to that column, that God led him to her to help her find the way, show her the way, and lead her.
I've always found Russell to be borderline delusionally confident, which I think is, I mean that kind of as a compliment, because I think that sometimes people who do great things have almost no doubt of themselves and have no thought for a second of any, like, he doesn't think of himself as 5'11". He thinks of himself as awesome. Yeah. He thinks I could do anything a 6'5" guy could do. He never, I think he tries to let those thoughts never enter his mind, and the doubts that all of us have.
Well, it's got to be pretty freeing, though, when you've given over, say, all control of your life in some type of mental capacity where it doesn't matter what I do. I'm going to do the best that I can because ultimately it's part of somebody else's plan. So I don't actually have to do it. It's just what's going to happen is going to happen.
And anything that doesn't work out just right, you could just say, well, that's part of a bigger being's
It's got to be able to
me.
give you the confidence that you're talking about, where it's like, it's not up to me. I mean, I'm going to do the best that I can, but ultimately it's going to work out how
there's like
somebody else wants it to.
There's a lot of roots. There's like people who study have said, like, in the past, if you look through the history of mankind, people who have religious faith are better warriors, like the warrior code, because they believe in something, as compared to people who do not have a god. So throughout history, religious armies tend to do better. I don't know if that's true. And there's famously 3 or 4 football teams that only get religious guys because they want the guys of faith who are exactly like Seton described, who are going to believe in themselves. I think there's something to it.
Well, he's always, the one thing that's always jumped out at me that I sort of have some fun with Russell Wilson, who I like very much. I think he's a good dude. Great football player, but he's always, at least once in an interview, he says, my height doesn't define my skill set. My height doesn't define my skill set. My height doesn't define my skill set. And I'm like, that's a dude who has had throughout life things drilled into your head.
You wouldn't be surprised if he had that written on the ceiling of his room growing up.
Yeah, he heard that when he was 17. It was drilled into his head, and that's like I think that goes a lot of like very religious people have a lot of Bible verses memorized and stuff like that, where they can call up.
Russell tweets those all the time.
Blah blah blah.
Tweeted one this
here.
morning,
And I have a lot of friends like that who can tell you, well, no, that can't be true because in this gospel it says this, and you're like, whoa. And that's when my height doesn't define my skill set. Might as well be a proverb.
It's like C's get degrees.
A psalm.
There you go.
Absolutely. Wilson is definitely smart with his interviews, and I think Roderick was talking about a product that Wilson uses to keep himself smart.
He's a smart guy, and he was smart not usually to use the word concussion, but just to say head injury. But yeah, there's no question that he believes it's true, that it helped. He wasn't joking. There was no, I'm pushing a product. I mean, he is, involved with the company, but he believes it. Like I said, I hate to repeat myself, but the things he believes strongly, and he believes strongly that guzzling that water helped him recover quicker.
So it's religion.
I don't know. He said the same thing in his article, Led, about how Russell believes Gatorade is a great drink. I don't know if this guy spent a lot of time around athletes pushing things. Yeah, they believe their things, and even Russell, I think this guy was duped into thinking Russell thinks Gatorade tastes great. He really believes that. I don't know. I felt he came off as kind of naive, and then later said Russell would never talk about the reason would never talk about losing sleep over that play, and eventually he did talk about that openly on our show and other shows too. I saw I mean, you think Russell's all in on Gatorade, but I don't think that's it. That's as 100% cut and dry as Roderick thinks it is. That's just my opinion. I don't think Russell's
So is
really...
that just about Gatorade or everything else covered in the article?
A lot of it. Well, I don't know. But I
Maybe
do.
you're being naive about
I thought
religious
Roderick
stuff.
sounded real naive. If you've been around athletes pushing products, they can sound real convincing.
I've always wondered what it'd be like to be a famous musician athlete and have to pitch a sponsor that you don't like, but your manager said, you know what, these guys are paying the most.
Or you haven't even ever used.
I'm not going to name, but there's a hamburger. There's a hamburger company that I'm not really fond of. I think there's no redeeming qualities of it. And one of the biggest basketball players on earth is one of the faces of that company. And I was like, man, do you really think this is a good product and it's worth that much to sell out when you've got blank in the bank? But I don't know. I've never been in that position. I've never, who knows? I may be a total hypocrite because if this hamburger company calls me tomorrow and says, hey, we just like you, Dan it, Paul, and we want to give you $300,000 a year to say thumbs up.
Yeah. We're getting rid of the Hamburglar and putting in the...
Right. I always think to myself, like, oh, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be a sellout. But then I'm like, maybe I would be a big hypocrite because I could
what
buy
are you crazy, dude? I will strangle you if you don't take that $300,000.
That's not true.
I will force you to, Paulie.
That's not true because when we started this show, we had a sponsor that called us that wanted to spend money on our show, and we took a vote in the room.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
It was because we didn't agree with the tone of that company.
Correct.
And we all agreed. We passed on money.
Yes, we did.
Back when we needed money
and we
a lot
needed
more
money
back
real
then.
bad then.
And
we did.
I always admired that about us. That everyone in the room said, "Nah, that's not for us," and we passed on money.
We do pass on quite a bit of money as a collective group. Now, that's not necessarily always going into my pocket.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going into a bigger
coffer.
But also, though, doing
but-
$300,000 for said burger company is not going to kill your career. Thinking short term, there's you're not doing it. A lot of it isn't out of principle. A lot of it is out of a long-term view of the business. It's like taking short-term cash. Dude, nobody's going to care if you take $300,000 for a said burger company.
No, but I would care.
Yeah, but I would say I would be so mad at you if you turned down that money.
I would spend away that guilt of.
Yeah,
we would force you. We would start hammering on you.
Set the tone early on and agreed to whatever just to get money. What would that? Who knows what that could have been a very short-lived experience for all of us if we already sold out at the very beginning.
Or we could all have double our salaries right now.
Yeah.
It could go the other way.
Right, room for a tattoo here for the right company from Mike Tyson style.
Golden Palace.
Oh, all right. And this is the Box Score. We invite any and all advertisers here. There's no shame here. All right, coming up, we're taking the show from the studio to the sea. Welcome back to the Box Score. Guys, summer is still in its prime as we hit late August. The ocean is still warm, baseball is getting serious, and my margarita game is in postseason form. Now, as we approach the twilight of August, I think it's important that we celebrate two summer large things, these beautiful things, and see if you guys can tell the difference between these things. It is a game we like to call Mariner or Mariner. Mariner, yar. I will give you a name. You tell me whether
Mariner.
Or whether it's someone who played in Seattle or someone who sailed the 7 seas. Here we go. Front row, I will start with you. The Mariner in question is James Baldwin, sea or Seattle?
James Baldwin, pitcher, huge hat, flat brim, had some nice stuff. Mariner.
Is he a Mariner?
Hedgehog, Jimmy and the Hedgehog, Jimmy and the Hedgehog.
That's one of the more bizarre graphics we've ever had.
I like it.
Congratulations. Back row, the Mariner in question is Webb Childs, sea or Seattle?
Slap
That's a seafaring.
They got an all-star pitcher who played in Chicago. What do we get?
Did you guys get a question last week that was like a T-ball question?
Yeah, did Michael Jordan play on the Bulls?
We did get one really.
Yeah, it was like that movie question.
Let's go with Mariner, like the Mariner on the
Not
sea.
a Seattle man, yeah.
Let's go the Mariner on the sea just for fun.
We're gonna go seafaring man.
Yar,
Seaman.
is he on the sea?
Scrappy second baseman.
Jimmy and the Hedgehog, Jimmy and the Hedgehog.
Yeah, baby.
Jimmy and the Hedgehog.
Jimmy and the Hedgehog.
Yes, congratulations. The first
Someone's gonna
American
go
to
wrong.
sail
I'm dying to see
alone
this.
around Cape Horn.
What?
All right, the front row. The Mariner is Miles Standish, sea or Seattle?
Oh, come on.
Miles Standish. Is that a trick question? It's a Mariner.
Yeah.
That's
Seattle.
no, Seaman.
Yes.
We're gonna go Seaman.
He's ensconced in Seaman.
Is he ensconced in seaman?
Jimmy and the Hedgehog.
What?
Jimmy and the Hedgehog.
Like a
Jimmy and the
Mariner
Hedgehog.
or Seaman?
Yes, absolutely. He captained the Mayflower.
Crushing us.
Back row, the Mariner is Quentin McCracken, sea or Seattle?
That's definitely baseball.
Was that the McCracken?
He was Magellan's right-hand man.
He's like a Kevin Moss type.
Remember Magellan? He's like, Quentin, get up here.
I think
Vasco da Gama and that guy never got along.
He's throwing some knowledge.
Let's go with
explorers. We're gonna go Seattle Mariner for Quentin McCracken.
Did he play in Seattle?
Jimmy and the Hedgehog. Jimmy and the Hedgehog.
We got to throw the next one.
We got to see it. I'm dying to see the
I don't want to win. I just want to know.
Yes, he was a center fielder in 2004 for the Mariners. All right, front row. The Mariner is Horatio Nelson, C or Seattle?
Oh, come on, dude.
That's got to be
It smells like a conquistador-ish type gentleman.
Horatio.
We're going to go, he's a seafaring gentleman, I think.
Yeah, did he sail the 7 seas?
He's literally only the most famous.
Jimmy and the Hedgehog.
Horatio Nelson?
Jimmy and the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
The most famous.
I never heard of him.
Oh, Horatio Nelson, like Lord Nelson, yeah, like.
Really?
He's like the one.
What'd he do?
I don't know. He conquered a bunch of land or something.
I can think of like 15 other ones I could get to before I got to Horatio Nelson.
Horatio Nelson, like wait, you know Horatio Nelson?
Do you?
No idea.
Like Horn of Good Plenty, Horatio Nelson, like Admiral Nelson.
Good and Plenty?
Like there's all sorts of things named after Horatio Nelson. Yeah.
Cape Horn. You mean Cape Horny? You would have found Cape Horny.
Wasn't that's like Thanksgiving is like good plenty.
Isn't Horatio Nelson like? Isn't there a million things
He
named
defeated
after
Napoleon's fleet twice. That's what he did. Back row, let's finish it up here. The Mariner is Joshua Slocum, C or Seattle?
Oh, come on.
Oh, this is
He's
tougher.
famous for sailing the Mediterranean
There was a
first.
Heathcliff slogan.
He sailed the Mediterranean first.
Heathcliff Slocum from.
Philly, is it? He spent a little time.
Right, and there's also the character Heathcliff Slocum in.
First guy to go through the
Does that sound like a
Suez
baseball
Canal.
player name more than a?
Yeah, definitely.
Joshua.
But
Slocum.
wait. Let's go Mariner because we got to hear the bad one.
Oh, so,
Are you throwing it?
Yeah, we're gonna throw it. We're
We'll
gonna say
respect it.
we're gonna say he's a seafaring gentleman. We want to see the bad one.
Oh, is he a seafaring gentleman?
Jimmy and the Hedgehog. Jimmy and the Hedgehog. Jimmy and the Hedgehog.
Hey, just for fun, can you guys roll in the bad answer?
Yes, absolutely. Here we go.
Even throw it probably.
Oh, damn it. That was much more fun.
All right, just so you know, he was the first sailor to circumnavigate the globe. Congratulations, everyone got everything right.
So funny.
And now you
Fritzy
feel a
was
little bit
circumnavigated.
smarter. All right, this is the box score, and we are taking a break to sail the 7 seas. Oh, in our Ram Heavy Duty, of course. It doesn't float. Don't take it out in the water. You can drive by the water. That's fine. And roll down the windows because it's a beautiful day wherever you're at. Have fun with the kids. It was National Dog Day yesterday. Who cares? God's glory, Ram. We're closing up shop here on the box score. Guys, this morning in Beijing, Usain Bolt had just won the gold in the 200-meter final. Usain Bolt, when a cameraman came up behind him and mowed him down on a Segway, luckily, Bolt was able to walk away from it.
Oh, I can't watch it.
Now, Seaton, if this had caused serious injury, does this cameraman instantly become one of the great villains in sports?
Unbelievable.
Holy smokereenies. He's certainly a great trivia question. The guy who ruined, this cameraman ruined Usain Bolt's
He would have like
career.
ripped up his whole knee.
He's Steve Bartman. He's Jeff Gillooly. Is that the right name? He's one of the all-time accidental villains.
Yeah, he
Oh,
sure
man.
is.
I mean, this guy is one of the faces of the Olympics. He's one of the greatest athletes in history.
Yeah.
Right.
And he was going to maybe finish out his career. This guy literally has 30 seconds left in front of us.
Yes.
A 10-second final and a 20-second final. And then if you count the 4x100, he has 40 seconds of is the lifespan of what we're going to watch this guy, and that was almost taken away.
Yeah.
He's only got 40 seconds left.
Kind of like Todd with his Simone back in the day. Whoa.
Oh, my goodness. McLovin, if a Segway had crashed into a Danette at a half a mile an hour, who is staying in the hospital the longest?
Oh, come on. That's a loaded question. We don't know.
Who do you think?
Yeah. We're talking a
gonna
hernia, maybe appendicitis. Todd Fritz would be in the hospital.
I'm surprised Fritzy's not in the hospital because of what happened to Usain Bolt.
Indirectly, I was feeling that. I was definitely
Your
feeling
back is a little sore today when you woke up.
You gotta see your gastro guy.
Got a little lower
Okay, by the way,
Lombard.
let's not rule out the possibility that Dan Patrick could get cut on just for watching that, too. Dan,
It's possible in 5 years we're going to hear about the time the cameraman took him out. On the Segway.
Yes.
Remember when we were out?
Well, remember when he did run into the wall by the virtual golf machine?
That wasn't good.
Yeah, he has knee hard.
He's had 6 knee surgeries. The guy does not have stable knees.
Yeah.
Toe got all purple.
Paulie, has Wild Bill ever caused any of you physical harm?
Funny you say that. I ran into Wild Bill the cameraman yesterday. I was making a left into my bank. And as I made a left, here comes Wild Bill flying through the stoplight, and I go, and I'm pulling in, and he's going right past me. I'm like, he goes, and he just puts up a big thumbs up. On a motorcycle, you shouldn't really do this and this. I actually shouldn't have beeped because he's plowing through, but I saw him like, hey, that's Wild Bill. He beeped and just did thumbs up, gone. I swear that was yesterday afternoon around 3 o'clock.
Spooky to me.
He lives right by me.
Let's be realistic though. If you get hurt by Wild Bill, that's it. Like, it just lights out. You're never gonna.
Well, okay, but now the flip side of that, though, okay? If there's ever some type of great zombie attack or anything, I want Wild Bill with me.
I'm on the back of his
That's my best
motorcycle.
chance of survival.
He's got multiple bomb shelters on his property.
Yeah.
All right, we're out of here. Fritzy, who's on tomorrow?
We will catch up with Notre Dame football coach Brian Kelly. That's what we're looking at.
Ooh, short
we
name.
may hear from Joe Buck, but right now
It's a
Brian
very
Kelly.
short name for a tease, too. Brian Kelly.
Brian Bartholomew William.
4-syllable T's. Brutal.
I love it. Bartholomew is always the middle name.
Oh, all right, let's pat it out. All right, thank you, gentlemen. We are back tomorrow on Audience Channel 239 at 3 p.m. Eastern, and the podcast is available on iTunes or at podcastone.com. Cheers.
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer.
My motto is simple. C's get degrees. Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you because I probably am.
Hey, thanks for watching the box score. Holy cow!